Coming up on iOS today, we are wrapping up the year, and that means it is time for Rosemary Orchard and I to announce our favorite apps of the year. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today, episode 633, recorded Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Our 12 favorites of Christmas. This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Adigi, the only Apple device management platform that combines MDM with live agent capabilities to manage and secure your Apple ecosystem. Visit adigi.com/twit for a free 14-day trial to see how Adigi helps you manage your Apple devices in real time. If you purchase by December 31st, receive 10% off your first year. Welcome back to iOS Today. This, of course, is the show where we talk all things iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, HomePodOS, watchOS, and all the OSs that Apple has on offer. We love to talk about them here on iOS Today. And this is our last live episode of the year. We will, of course, I will be back next week, sort of in movie magic terms, because it was pre-recorded, to talk about the year and some of the best moments of the year, the highlights, as we do our best ofs at the end of the year to round things out. The Twit Studios comes to a close. Leo goes out and puts a giant chain on the front door, and Lisa takes a giant padlock shaped like a Christmas tree and latches it down. And it's got a code that none of us know. And so we can't even get into the studio during these last couple of weeks of the year, but we will be back after that. But until then, you, of course, can watch this episode and next week's episode, which will be the best ofs. This episode is all about favorite apps. I am one of the hosts of iOS Today. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard. Hi, everybody. Also, if you're watching the video, Mikah is wearing an adorable Santa hat, which I'm matching. My Santa hat's a little lighter, but it coordinates with my Santa Squad hoodie, which you can
Santa Squad!
But yeah, we are officially getting ready for Christmas. And I also love how much everybody at Twit loves to work, so that Leo and Lisa literally have to lock you all out of the building to stop you doing this.
Yep, absolutely. So without further ado, it is time to kick things off and talk about our favorite apps of the year. Now, we, of course, covered during the summer, we covered the apps that Apple awarded at the Worldwide Developer Conference. And these were apps that made the best use of Apple's technologies and were apps that, kind of showed off what a developer can do using the offerings that Apple has. Then we covered the end of the year apps that Apple announced. So Apple's editorial team put together a list of kind of the most popular apps or the best apps or a little bit of apps that were game changers. It kind of goes back and forth in terms of how those are defined. But these apps are apps that Rosemary and I want to talk about because we think that they are great. These are apps that maybe we're using all the time, or maybe we just started using this year, or maybe they just cropped up, but they were apps that we felt were worth talking about. So I was hoping, Rosemary, you could kick us off with your first app pick.
Yeah, I am very happy to kick us off with our first app pick, because it's one I was literally using last night as I flew back from Budapest to make sure I was here for this show. And that's Flighty. Flighty is one of my favorite apps. Now, as you can see right now in Flighty, I don't have any upcoming flights that I need to track. But if I were to tap on this little passport, then I can go back and see my flight log of the past. And they've just added this lovely little new feature called your Flighty passport, which is a really cute little passport, which has, the authority that issued it, the Flighty app. You can't actually use this to travel, sadly. Place of issue, which in my case is Vienna, because that's the airport I've flown out of most whilst using Flighty. And some other information there, including the fact that I've been on 180 flights, which is a lot of flights that I haven't tracked in here probably as well. But I really, really love this because there's also a teeny tiny little button that says black light. And Mikah, it makes my passport purple. I love this. So it adds a little sort of lilac-y glow around, the camera and everything at the top. And then it changes everything to sort of light lilac-y shade with dark purple lines for the countries, and has a little hologram type emblem in the top right-hand corner. Of course, this is one of the reasons why you might want to use Flighty for tracking how much time you've spent / wasted, depending on your point of view, on planes. But you can also just, look up flights and track them. And you can say, okay, I'm looking for a flight from London Heathrow to Budapest if I wanted to go back today. I'm not going to, but just as well that I wasn't on the 4:15 or 2:15, sorry, it was delayed, but I can see that it still arrived 11 minutes early. But when you want to track, say, a future flight, which I will just pick tomorrow, and then I pick that one, then I can actually specify when I'm following it, hey, this isn't my flight, this is a friend's flight, and it'll be automatically deleted after they arrive, which especially if you've got friends coming to and family coming to visit for the holiday, then you may actually want to take advantage of. So Flighty is free to download, and you can track a couple of flights for free with it. And then it's about $49.99 a year in-app subscription to get all of the features unlocked, including things like Tripit import, or it's $5.99 a month. That is for an individual user. For family plans, it's $10.99 a month or $90 a year. There is a lifetime option of $250 or $550 for the family plan, but I'm sure most people probably don't fly enough to be looking at that one. But if you've got some flights coming up, or you've got lots of people flying into you, you may want to check out Flighty. And if not, maybe just stick it in your list of things to check out again when you've got an upcoming trip.
Absolutely. This is an app that Johnny Jett, the travel guru, who is a regular guest on the Tech Guy on Saturdays, he loves this app and talks a lot about it. And so I remember him mentioning it. I downloaded it and I thought, holy moly, there's so much information here. This is incredible how much you can get from this app. Like, the price may seem expensive at $49.99 a year, but when you realize, that this app, the developers are having to pay for the data that they need to get some of the data, then, or I should say most of the data, because some of it is available publicly, but most of it is not, and you have to pay for it, then that $50 a year makes sense. And if you are especially a frequent traveler, this app is kind of a no-brainer when it comes to wanting to make sure that you're, staying up on what's going on. So yeah, Flighty, really cool app, beautifully designed and so doggone helpful. Even for me as a person who does not travel very often, I remember using it for the last time I flew, and it had all the information that I needed before the app from the airline itself, from the air being within the airport didn't have all of that information. It's kind of incredible how much you can learn from this app. It's awesome.
Yes, it is. It even tells you like your belt number to get your bag at the end if you need to, which is pretty great. Who doesn't want to have all that information in one place?
The next app I want to talk about is, and this of course is a long time app to make the list, but it's just so doggone great. It's Fantastical. Anytime someone asks me, or not even asks me, anytime I hear them mention something about having trouble with their calendar, or wishing that their calendar could do more, or complaining about how the notifications don't work how they expected, or they want more out of their calendar, I always encourage them to make use of Fantastical, because Fantastical is fantastic. It is quite the app. So I'm going to show, this is on an iPad that doesn't have my personal calendars on it. So you're not going to see much by way of events. But essentially, if I didn't have Fantastical, I wouldn't be right here right now, because everything that I need to do in a day, in a week, in a month goes into my calendar. I have notifications set up for each of the events that I need to. By now, I mostly joke when I say iOS today, because I remember to be there for that. But for, somebody invites me to something, obviously that's going to make it into the calendar. Or if I've got a meeting, that wasn't originally scheduled, that makes it into the calendar. And I think a lot of people do use the calendar in this way. So that is why I think Fantastical is great. But let me show you some of the features here. So this is the day view. So let's say that let's go with lunch today at 2 p.m. at, I don't know, we're going to make up a cafe, Father Christmas Cafe. And you'll see that it's actually suggesting locations in case it can find it. And then from here, I could go ahead and tap add, and you can see that it's already got it figured out that's going to be today, December 20th, 2022, starting at 2 and ending at 3. But if I tap on show more, then I can pop in some more information. So I could search for a location here, and I will choose allow while using the app, and I'll scoot back. So I could search for a location here, find exactly what I was looking for. I could make this an all-day event, of course, start and end time, your time zones, which is great. Which calendar you want it to be popped in. You can change the color of it if you like. So this is if you've got multiple calendars with multiple colors and you want to do a kind of a third thing. Invitees, of course, this works like any calendar system where you can ask people to come. I love the repeat features. So you can do every day, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, every year, but then there are custom options. Repeat 3 times a month, repeat 3 times a year, that kind of thing. It's all built in. And then, of course, you've got your alerts, and you can choose whether you're going to be busy or not. Now, I'm going to pop back to my main view here for a second, because I want to type in a location without giving my location. And we'll do the Twit Studios. And so there's the Twit Eastside Studios. And what I love about this is it has a built-in travel time calculator. So I put in the location where I'm planning on going. I can go to travel time. Oh, let me actually scoot back one more time. So that is a premium feature. And because on this iPad, I do not have premium set up, it won't allow me. But basically what that does is it'll calculate how long it takes you to get to that location from a location that you specify. So I love that, because it will then let you set alerts to say, hey, I want you to buzz me. Whoops, not hit the microphone, but buzz me 30 minutes before, not the event, but 30 minutes before travel time. So that way, you know when you're supposed to leave and can get there as you want to. So I will add this event, but this also has some very powerful features, including the ability to set up an event that then has time proposals. So you may have seen those systems online, openings as an example. And this is a way to say, hey, these are the time slots I have available. You can book a meeting with me at this time. Now, this is what I think is so magical about this. It is that's like a feature that oftentimes is an entire different app, a third-party app that you would have to buy and use. But that is all built into Fantastical on its own. And then there's also the option when you are using the app to be able to send out a calendar invite that people can then try to pick a time that works. So you can suggest multiple times and give people the option. So it's an all-in-one calendar application, and I think that's what makes it so amazing. And over this past year, the reason why I'm putting it on the list this year is Fantastical has made some incredible improvements. I love that you can see weather in a given week. So you're able to quickly kind of get an idea. Oh, I have that thing in San Francisco on Thursday, and I know it's going to be freezing. So I want to make sure that I am able to, bundle up. I remember to pack whatever I need to do. It is a truly powerful app that has lots and lots and lots of features built into it. And it makes use of so much of what iOS offers as well. So you can use the widget, which I really like, to see kind of your events. And in fact, I'll show it on my phone here. This is my actual calendar. And if you'll notice, it's there in the middle of the screen. And on the left here, you'll see these little calendar. It's a full calendar for December, and it is colored in. It's got yellow that kind of goes to a darker orange, right? And what this is, it's a heat map. So it's showing, hey, depending on from light pale yellow to deep dark orange, you know that you've got more or less events on a given day. So I can quickly glance at my month and see that next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th, those are pretty packed days. And it looks like Monday the 5th, I've got nothing going on. I had nothing going on. So it was a very easy day. So love that feature as well. And Fantastical is always one of the first to add new features based on what Apple adds to its operating systems. So really clever app. And I think everyone deserves to have this calendar app as the calendar app they use on their iPhone.
Yeah, I love it too, Mikah. I want to give a quick honorable mention to calendar sets, which is something that's sort of come into the native iOS calendar app now with focus modes, where a calendar set is a set of calendars. So if you have work calendars, then you can just have like the 5 calendars or 2 calendars that you need for work. And then you can also have like a personal calendar set, which has other calendars in, maybe including some of the ones from work, maybe not. And they can activate and deactivate automatically at times or physical locations or with your focus modes. And of course, there are also template events, which I use all the time to take advantage of Fantastical. But it certainly makes my calendaring life a lot easier. But if I'm allowed to, I'm going to go on to my next one because I like doing a lot of background reading for this episode. And I'm sure a lot of folks like keeping up to date on various different things online, but especially with, the whole Twitter is not doing so great right now. And can you find everything you're looking for on Mastodon? A lot of people are turning back to the RSS feed. Now, me, I never went away from RSS feeds. I still love them and have been using them for a very long time. But one of my favorite apps is NetNewsWire. And NetNewsWire is a free app. It's open source, so you can go onto GitHub and actually look at the code and use that if you want to. And, it's just available on iOS for you to, download and install and use. So you connect up an account, or you can just use iCloud. So if I pop open the settings, when you go to add an account, you can see it supports using iCloud. It can also just have feeds on your device. And then it supports using Buzzcooks. Never heard of those actually, to be honest, but Feedbin, Feedly, Inner Reader, NewsBlur, the Old Reader, and Fresh RSS as backends for this. So if you've got some RSS feeds maybe set up in FeedReader or Feedly or something already, then you can actually just sign into your account and get it all here. So in the main view, you see just your list of the feeds perhaps based on, in this case, in the Feedbin case, is by account. But if I go down to my Fresh RSS account, then you can see I've got folders in there where I can look at, people that I'm following or the Home Assistant stuff I'm following. And I can go to Today Views, which is everything that's coming today. I can go to my All Unread view, which is everything that I've not read today or earlier, starred. And then, of course, I could also tap on a feed. But it just works very simply. This looks like an iOS app. It feels like an iOS app. And unlike Apple News, it doesn't have a subscription. So you can just sign up to whatever sites you like. You could read the news on here. You can do whatever. What I do love about this app is the fact that if I scroll down to a point, maybe I've been away for a few days and haven't been, keeping on top of things, I can easily tap and hold on any one news article and mark everything below that as read or everything above that as read. I can also easily filter for, I can mark everything as read in that unread view. But if I were to open, say, Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal, which is a comic, I can actually filter, up here for just the unread new articles from this, or not, as the case may be. And I can, just tap to go to the next one on any of, my articles. There are a lot of settings that you can set up here. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You can, if you've had something somewhere else, maybe in a different app before, and you want to try NetNewsWire, but it was an on my device or a proprietary account style, you can actually import subscriptions from Feedbin and Fresh RSS, but a lot of those can actually be exported to that same format. You can choose how your timeline gets sorted, the theme that you're going to use. So in my case, I'm using the default theme, but you can actually have different ones pop up, which affects how it looks. You can specify that you always want to be in light mode or dark mode, or have it be automatic. And it's just a great free open source app that shows what app developers can do given some free time and encouragement to make a great app. And NetNewsWire was originally created by Brent Simmons, and this version is back with him now. NetNewsWire is once again owned by / open sourced by Brent Simmons, which is great. So it's just a lovely case of the indie developer community rocking at making a great, nerdy, free app, but an app that we can all take advantage of no matter what our nerd status is.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, I want to give a brief shout out to an app that is built into iOS and iPadOS, and that is Clock. Clock is a great app, of course, for keeping track of times across different time zones, for setting alarms, for having a stopwatch, or for using the timer. And in fact, the timer is one of my main uses of the Apple Watch. I love having that timer right there on my wrist, being able to track whatever it happens to be, whether it's brewing some coffee or part of a recipe that I'm working on. But what is also great about the Clock app is, if you are using it, whoops, there I go hitting the microphone again. If you are using it with your iPhone, then you've also got some built-in sleep features. So I'll switch over to the iPhone here, and you can see this in my alarm section of the app. I've got these standard alarms that are set, but I've also got this section called Sleep. And then there's a pipe character and it says wake up. And so if I tap on this, I'll tap change, and up pops your schedule, your wake up schedule. So you can set what time you go to bed and what time you wake up. And this will show you how much sleep you're going to get based on when you plan to go to bed and when you plan to wake up. But it will also show you, it will also let you make these adjustments. So I could say, instead of 11, let me go to bed at 10:30 and then wake up at 8. Or I can decrease my hours by tapping on the part where the alarm is showing and just dropping that back. So I can say, I'll go to bed at 10:30, wake up at 7:30, in which case I would get 9 hours of sleep. Now, in the health app, you're able to make adjustments to your overall schedule. So you can say, maybe you have a pretty standard schedule. So Monday through Friday, for example, and you want to have an alarm turned on for those days. But on Saturdays and Sundays, you just want to have the alarm turned off. That is a possibility. Then underneath, you'll see that there are options for the alarm. So I can choose whether or not to have the alarm. And an example of this is, I like to keep my sleep schedule, but I also like to give my body the option to wake up on its own on days where I don't have an engagement in the morning. And so say, for example, we were closed today, instead of going in and editing my sleep schedule in health, I would just pop in here and then toggle off alarm right there. And that will just turn off the alarm for the next day. So it won't mess up the entire schedule. It's just a temporary thing. Then under here, you've also got sounds and haptics, of course, the volume and whether or not it has a snooze. Now, with this sounds and haptics, it will play this special music that is specifically created for waking up. And so these alarms are, they kind of start out quiet and then they get louder and louder and louder and louder. And they're quite delightful, honestly, to wake up to. But then I can, I've locked this in. This is what I want. I tap done. And then it asks, are you trying to change the schedule overall? Or are you just trying to change this next alarm? I only want to change the next alarm. So now I've got 7:30 a.m. instead of, I think, 8:30 was the original one. And it's all good to go and ready. And then because you've got those set up in the health app and in the Clock app, then iOS has a little bit more information about your sleep schedule and is able to better track your sleep using that feature. So a really great built-in feature that makes it so nice to just, with what comes with your phone, be able to kind of track your sleep, but also set alarms that are a little less jolty, which is quite nice. All right, with that, it is time to take a break before we come back with even more favorites of Christmas. But until then, let me tell you about Adigi. We're bringing you this episode of iOS Today. I love that Adigi is on this show because it is all about Apple. Adigi helps you do more than just manage your Apple devices. Adigi is the only fully cloud-based, multi-tenant Apple MDM platform designed for scalability. Adigi gives you the features, the functionality, the flexibility you need to customize and manage your Apple devices how you want, so you can ensure your Apple infrastructure is optimized to best support your environment and help your team be as productive as possible every day. Adigi helps simplify Apple IT management by creating a solution that's so flexible and customizable, any IT team can use it to easily maintain and secure the Apple devices in their managed networks. Adigi helps you ensure every Apple device, that's Macs, iPhones, iPads, and more, are secure, are supported, and are ready to scale. So what makes Adigi different? Well, there is quite a bit, actually. First, zero-touch deployment. You can get new members onboarded securely in under 5 minutes. There's secure authentication with trusted providers that eliminates those security gaps because you've got tested, authenticated features that your users will actually be able to rely on. Real-time device monitoring with automated remediation. That way you can manage those devices in real time and resolve issues automatically before you get to that point where they're causing downtime. Custom compliance features are available as well. So that way you've got that peace of mind because your Apple infrastructure is always compliant and up to date. And self-service capabilities, yes, this is fantastic. Free your IT team from those endless reset requests because 24/7 user access is available to those resources and applications so they can help themselves. There's patch management, so you can prevent delays, you can fix bugs early, you can minimize downtime by rolling out new updates and patches as soon as possible. And easy to customize and scale systems to meet any needs and adapt to any environment with fast, free, catered migration. An MDM tool that works as hard as you do at the speed of now. One user says of Adigi, quote, "We are able to tap into economies of scale and optimize common tasks for all clients' environments. We estimate this will reduce the time our team dedicates to MDM management by at least 30% each week, creating happier team members and allowing us to more effectively secure our managed endpoints." So get started today with Adigi's award-winning support. When you partner with Adigi, you get white glove support from a team of experts who live, eat, and breathe Apple. They care about your success as much as you do. Guarantee your Apple success with Adigi. Start your free 14-day trial at adigi.com/twit. Plus, if you purchase by December 31st, you are going to get 10% off your first year. So hurry, don't wait. Visit adigi.com/twit today. And thank you, Adigi, for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, back to the show. And I love this next app that you've chosen, Rosemary, because this is a common question I get. How do I do this? Tell us all about it.
Well, sometimes you take screenshots on your iPhone. And for those of you who may have forgotten, the way to take a screenshot on your iPhone is to press the power and volume up buttons at the same time, unless you still have a device with a home button, in which case you press the home button and the power button at the same time. If you do that, then you get a screenshot, which is great. But sometimes there's a lot of data and you kind of need to stitch it all together. And there's a number of apps out there that can do this. But I have a favorite app for this. And that favorite app is called Picsew. So Picsew, when you set it up, will ask you for permission to access your photos, which you'll need to grant it for this to work. And then you can go ahead and select photos. So if I were to, for example, to be taking some screenshots to demo how Picsew works, then I can actually just take some screenshots here and I'll just scroll up and I'll make sure that the pancakes are still on my plate. And now Picsew has detected that there are two screenshots next to each other that look like they can probably be stitched together. And so it's just done it for me. And this is great because I now don't need to do any work at all. Now, if I did want to, then I could tap on the horizontal lines on the left-hand side. And then I can actually see where it has joined this up and I could adjust that. So if I wanted to, then I could actually pull this out to, I don't know, maybe try and duplicate this particular row of photos. I'm not doing a very good job, so I'll just attempt to stitch this back together, but it's probably going to go wrong. So let's leave it like that for now. But once I've done that, there's more that I can do. And this is something you can do with a screenshot that hasn't been needed to be stitched horizontally or vertically. If you pop over into the tools, you'll see there's a magic wand lit up if you're watching the video. So I've actually, in my preferences, configured Picsew to automatically clean up the menu bar here at the top. Okay, so if we go back into the crop and we look at the menu bar, then you can see that there's the search with a little back arrow over on the left-hand side. There's the podcast headphones next to the time 9:41, which my phone will display because it's plugged in and I'm screen sharing. And then over on the right-hand side, you've got signal, Wi-Fi, and battery. Now, if you posted a screenshot on the internet ever and you didn't have more than 20% battery, you will have got comments telling you that you need to go and charge your phone. And if you hate those comments, then Picsew is one way to work around them. It can also do things like just tidy all of this up. So you'll always have full signal and Wi-Fi, which, is nice, but it has more options as well. If I tap on the device, then I can choose to frame my device. So this has now got a purple, of course, because I'm purple, iPhone 14 frame around it. But if I were to tap on the frames option, then I can actually choose and I can turn this into, say, an Apple Watch Ultra. Now, it's not an Apple Watch Ultra, it's an iPhone 14 Pro, but I have all the devices here. And on iPad, you have iPad devices as well. You also have color options. So you can set, for example, what the background should look like and things like that. You can do gradients, all sorts of things. I'll actually remove the background because my preference is to save this out as a PNG, which means that background is transparent. But there are other things that you can do as well with this. There's sort of collage options, which I'm just going to undo there. If you've got some data, you need to obscure it. So say, for example, this picture of a shark in the Plaza Premium Lounge at Budapest Airport was actually confidential information. And I didn't want anybody to be able to see that. I can use this obscuring, and I'll just start at the top. So the first one just kind of blurs everything in a sort of pixel fashion. The last option will do that sort of block type information that you're used to seeing. It works a little better if you've got actual text. And then the last one is just going to smudge everything and make it all blurry. Now I'm actually going to use the undo button because that's quite an adorable picture of a shark, and he may be offended by that, but there we go. There's also text options where I can add some text. So if I type jelly, then it will autocorrect to hello, fortunately, and I can pop that in somewhere if I needed to and tap on it at any time to edit it. There are options where it kind of does like Instagram style text, where you can be just left aligned, right aligned, or centered with a background, a translucent background, or no background. And you can change the color. If you've used Instagram for this sort of thing, then you'll be very familiar with what that looks like. And then if I just delete all of the text, I've still got an L in there. I delete all the text and tap done, then it gets rid of it. There's also a highlight option where I can highlight in a block. So I'll just move and I'll go back to the shark because that'll be a little easier to spot, where I can just, do a highlight outline essentially, or I can do freeform highlighting of just sort of scribbling, doodling, etc. Picsew is great. When you're done with this, I tap the download option and it will then, after it renders, ask me, because I've configured it to do this, do you want to delete those two photos? Yes, I do. And it just helps keep these things cleaner. If I were to tap on one single picture and just tap adjust, it does give me cropping options should I want or need to, but then I can just pop straight into tools and just, straight away add that device frame. And that's it. That's what I do for a lot of screenshots that I take on a regular, probably daily basis, probably multiple times a day. It also does things like remove the scroll bar. If you haven't spent a little bit of time messing around with the Picsew preferences, I highly recommend you do that. You've got a lot of options in there. If you pop into smart recognition, that's where you can turn on automatically cleaning your status bar, automatically removing scroll bars, and automatically stitching together recent screenshots. You can also change what the status bar shows you. So if you want to have your name in there, or the name of your company, for example, then you can put that. You can watermark every single picture if you wanted to, and you can choose where that watermark would sit. So I'll just pop in iOS Today a second because that will be a little better. Oops, it would be even better if I could spell, but there we go. And iOS Today. We are, of course, going to make this purple because this is me we're talking about. So at the moment, it's in the bottom left-hand corner. You could put it bottom center, bottom right-hand corner, center, and then there is my favorite, which I like to call, seriously, where are the watermarks? And it just does it diagonally across the picture. And you can even, adjust, how transparent or not transparent this is, the opacity, etc. So you've got a lot of options here. I personally don't usually bother with a watermark, but I know some folks do need to watermark lots of images. There is slicing ratios and so on for paper sizes. You can output as PDFs if you need to, all sorts of things. go take a look in the settings. This app gets regular updates. Like it's out there as soon as there's a new device with the device screenshots or frames, so that you always have the latest. And believe it or not, folks, if you're watching the video, the frame on my screen right now, I'm trying to point it in, pointing the wrong way. This I took out of Picsew because that was the fastest way to get it. So I'm
Nice.
pretty pleased with this as an app. It's free to download with a $1.99 in-app purchase to unlock all the pro features. If you have previously unlocked a pro version, then you may have to pay a 99-cent upgrade to get the latest pro features, but they don't overcharge you. They're really good about this.
It's so worth it. Yeah. It's not expensive at all. All right, I'm going to quickly breeze through these next two because we only have so much time in an episode. But and one of them I can't really show you because by its very nature, it would be difficult for me to show you. But we'll show you the website at least, which I realize now I have not included. Luckily, it's just the name of it, Kevin.com. So that's good. So the next one I want to talk about is 1Password 8. So for about 1 trillion years, as long as I've been around. No, not quite that long. But for, I guess, all of my adult life, I have used 1Password as my password manager of choice. It is the password manager I use on my Mac, on Windows, when I occasionally open up my Windows PC, on my iPhone, iPad, everywhere. And the company behind the application have added some great new features in its latest version, 1Password 8. And there's kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff with 1Password 8 as they are working to make sure that it is an application that works well for consumers as much as it works well for businesses. So a lot of that is, not necessarily going to be something that you'll be using day to day, but I love that it stores crypto keys. And by crypto keys, I don't mean Bitcoin. I mean cryptographically generated keys like SSH keys and things like that very easily. It integrates with the command line on the Mac, which is awesome. I love being able to use it in terminal when I need to. But on the iPhone and iPad, because of the integrations that Apple has added into iOS, it's so delightful to be able to just generate, in some cases, passwords and, of course, log into the different accounts that I have very simply, because it'll prompt you and pop those details in as you need them. And I love that 1Password is also continuing to work on making sure that it's up to date with the latest kinds of login technology. So they're working on passkey integration so that you can use 1Password with your passkeys that you might log in with. For folks who don't know, these are special logins that don't require a password. And then also, many people will choose to they go to a site and there's an option, sign in with Gmail, or I think it says sign in with Google, or sign in with Apple, or sign in with Twitter. And 1Password has started to support that functionality so that you don't forget which one you've used on the site. So I know that there have been a few times where I will use GitHub as my login for a specific site, and others where I'll use Apple. And because of that, I've in the past accidentally created a new account when what I was intending to do was log in. 1Password saves that information so that you don't end up creating multiple accounts. I like that it's integrated with password breach information so that you can be notified, hey, this site has been breached, so you might want to update your password here. You might want to update your password here. It will kind of give you an overall look at your password health so you can see, oh, wow, you've been reusing this password on lots of different things, or these accounts are severely out of date, or these accounts support two-factor authentication and you haven't set up two-factor authentication yet. And that's also what I like about 1Password is that it makes it very easy to enable two-factor authentication by way of a QR code. So all of ththose things come together for me to make 1Password so awesome. And then just with these latest updates, I've finally got around to, because on my iPhone, I had 1Password 8 as soon as it came out, but an iPad, I had not yet updated. And there was something else where I was still lagging behind. So I finally got everything updated to 1Password 8. And it is pretty doggone great. with the latest edition and all of the features that are built in. So it had to make my list because everyone should have a password manager. And if you're curious what password manager I'm using, that's the one I'm using.
I do just want to quickly,
please.
Mikah, throw in a tiny tip. It works with any password manager. If you're using sign in with GitHub, sign in with Apple, sign in with Google, sign in with Azure, whatever it is, Microsoft stuff, then in your password manager, I recommend that you create something and in your username, type in sign in with GitHub or something. And then it will pop up and you'll still see it in the username field. And then you'll remember, I signed in using GitHub or whatever it is. So that's just a bonus little tip.
That's a great tip.
That I would recommend for folks. In my case, I'm using OnePassword and you can see I've tagged it with SSO GitHub as well. But whatever works for you. But personally, I always put these in my password manager anyway.
Yeah, that's a very smart way to do it. The other app that I wanted to mention, I think this one ends up on the list because even if it's not something you are using, you probably have heard about it. And if you haven't heard about it, almost certainly you have seen the product of it. And that app is a little app called Lensa. So Lensa is an app that is made by the folks at Prisma Labs, which long ago in a galaxy far, far away, Prisma made an app that would let you generate some photo, or it would take the photos that you had and it would sort of make them into art. So it would make it look as if it had been painted on a canvas or painted in a specific format. And this has been, I don't know, several years ago. I remember writing about it over at iMore. In fact, I wonder if I do a Google search for Prisma Mikah Sargent, if that ends up showing
I'll look
anything.
for that, Mikah. Well, you tell everybody how great Lensa is.
Thank you.
Prisma.
So yes, that company Prisma Labs has made a new app called Lensa, and Lensa makes use of the artificial intelligence that is more recent. So many of you have heard of Stable Diffusion and Midjourney and DALL-E 2 and all these different applications or these different AI services that will generate artwork. And some of them, of course, can generate custom artwork. So this is Lensa essentially is plugging into Stable Diffusion in the background and is using photos that you take to create kind of an AI model of you that can then be programmed to output specific types of photos. So I will show you as an example here. These I uploaded, I think they suggest anywhere from 10 to 20 photos, and the photos have to just be of your face. There can't be any other faces in it. They can't be super consistent photos, meaning that, you can't do a photo shoot for this. They want all sorts of different kinds of photos with lots of variations. And then you upload them to the service, and then it generates these different photos of you. So some of them look like me a little bit. Some of them don't look like me at all. This is a kind of an odd photo. But the idea here is that it is creating, based on the AI model that it has, photos of your face. That one looks more like me than some of the other ones do. And you'll get some kind of bizarre results at times, for sure. I love this one where it's just made my forehead so big. And then also my fingers just look incredible in this. AI is not good at hands. It is not good at hands at all, which is something that they say about artists, or that rather that artists say that it's hard to do hands. Love this one where it's sort of put me on, me, quote unquote, on an iPhone, being held by a white person, which is also kind of funny. And then you get the idea here. Oh, that one's really creepy. All of these different photos were generated using my photos that I uploaded of my face. And that one's kind of fun. It reminds me of Prince or something. And it's fun. It's rather expensive. It can be anywhere from $5 to I think $20. And the reason, so that'll depend on how many outputs it does, up to I think it's 100 at the max, 100 portraits that it'll export for you. And the reason for this is because it's actually quite expensive to do this. What they're having to do is, in the background, they're basically creating an individual instance somewhere on a server of Stable Diffusion, and then they're taking the photos that you have and they're quickly training Stable Diffusion with your photos. But training just means they're uploading the photos and kind of adjusting parameters and whatnot to create a custom model that is just about getting your features. And then after that, they're prompting the AI with specific prompts. Like, for example, this one could be man. Oh, wait, let me switch back. Man standing, or in this case, it will actually say my name because they've got that information, but they've probably, coded it. So it's user 56739, looking off into the distance, wearing a cloth uniform with a blue background or something. It could be any number of things. And all of these have to have prompts that they are popping into the system. And then it lets you download those photos after the system has created those. So depending on when you try this out, it can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an entire day to get your photos because of, the use that's happening on the system. But if you have seen these AI generated photos, if you've seen these really interesting artworks, people are making their profile photos on different platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And you're going, how do I do that? This is most likely the way that they are doing it because it's the simplest way of doing it. I am lucky to know the incredible producer, editor, and artist extraordinaire, Anthony Nielsen, who works here at Twit, who had generated some AI models for the purposes of the Twit holiday card this year. And so he sent me my model, and I was able to use that with some special application to kind of generate some custom photos. They didn't look anywhere near as good as these do. And you saw how these looked. Some of them are very odd. So it's all still very kind of, but they do their best. I will say that for sure. But that is Lensa. It can get pretty pricey, but I wanted people to understand how those prices factor in, why it ends up costing so much because of the little kind of computers they're basically spinning up for every person when they go to try and make their own custom avatars. All right. I said it was going to be quick, and it wasn't exactly that quick, but that was 1Password 8 and Lensa. Let's hear from Rose for her next two picks.
Well, the good news, Mikah, is my next two picks are going to be pretty fast because there's only so much you can do with water tracking and reading. But you know what? We're going to cover them. So my water tracking app of choice is WaterMinder. WaterMinder integrates with HealthKit. So anything that you log in here or is logged via another app, such as if you have one of the Hydrate Smart water bottles that Matthew Castanelli recommended as his app cap, and I have since bought, then that can all log in here as well. And something they've done this year is update it. So I've very carefully not logged anything today, and I've been keeping track of it all. Instead on a piece of paper, which is here on my desk to add it later. But when you add things now, different kinds of liquid get represented as different colors. So I actually had 2 glasses of apple juice this morning. So you can see this person, in my case, is filling up with water. If I pop into the settings, then I can actually go ahead and change this. I've forgotten where it is, but there is an option where I can choose, which icon I would like to fill out. So you've got various different sort of fashionable people of various options. You could have a Christmas tree filling up with water, robots, unicorns, cat person, whatever you like. I think for the time being, I am actually going to pick this person with a bun on their head and glasses because that seems pretty fun to me. But once I now tap logging some Coca-Cola in here, then you can actually see there's some brown down by the shoes and then there's green on top. And this will then, help you keep an eye on how much you're drinking of what kinds of fluids. Some of them are better for you, of course, than others. You can adjust your water intake goal. It's calculated this for me based on my weight and activity types. And you can change things like the app icon and so on. It's got shortcuts integration. It's got an Apple Watch app. It even has an iCloud sync option, so you can have it on, say, your iPad as well. But you can go through, check the history, historically add data. You can do sharing, which I've chosen not to do with other people. But what you can have in your, you can have reminders, of course, but you can have these cups and you can actually customize all of this. So you can have caffeine tracking as an option, and you can activate or deactivate different kinds of drinks so that you would have them available. So I can actually make skim milk, for example, inactive, and I'll also make milk inactive because I don't drink either of those. I also don't drink coconut water, so I should really remove those from my list. But you can, they've recently changed it so you can customize a lot of what you see here. And then I also have this option over on the right-hand side, so I can just pick something else. So if I wanted to log that I actually did have a 250 ml smoothie this morning, then I can go ahead and add that. And that shows up in a different shade of green to my apple juice, which is pretty cool. So that's WaterMinder. It's free to download, or it was free to download at various points in the past. Sorry, it is $4.99 to pay for the WaterMinder app, one-time purchase, and no subscriptions or anything. So it's pretty great, and it will help you keep track of things. It does also have widgets support, including lock screen widgets and watchOS complications. But my next app, which I'm going to show you all, is a great app, which is an alternative to Pocket or Instapaper if you've given those a try in the past and maybe didn't get on with them, or like me, built up a massive back catalogue of things and decided that I'm just going to start with a new app and declare bankruptcy. And I now have 628 untagged and unread items in GoodLinks. But don't worry, Christmas is coming. I've got some time off. I'm going to go through and crack on with this. But GoodLinks is a place to store articles that you want to read later. Except it's more than just the read later tab in Safari, because it's got tagging, for example. So if I were to just pop in to my list, then you can see that I've recently added a number of articles by the wonderful developer David Smith, who has created such apps as Widgetsmith, WatchSmith, Steps++, and so on. So if I tap on this, then I get a lovely little reader view, which it started by popping in some options at the bottom for me, and then those disappear very quickly, and I can just tap on screen anytime to make those reappear. I can choose what font I want to read things in. I can increase the size of the font, and this is independent of the font options, but it will follow those. I can also, and I'll just scroll up a little bit before I change that, I can also increase line spacing. So if you need a bit more spacing between lines to make it readable to you, or if you need less spacing between lines, then you can adjust that. And you can also adjust, the justification of things, which is not working so well on this article just because there's, not a huge amount of text and I don't have the smaller font size, but there we go. So I can have a very narrow paragraph, or I can have a very wide paragraph, or I can sort of try something in between. But I can star things, I can mark it as read or unread, and then I can also re-download it if I needed to. Maybe there was a mistake in the article, it's been updated. I can export as PDF, markdown, plain text. I can open this in the browser, email it to somebody. If I wanted to, I could print it. And you can even edit, so you can change things like the title, and you can add your tags. Now, I'm not going to add the tags here. Oops, I didn't mean to mark that one as read. So I am just going to pop into the read ones, and I'll get that back later. It's fine. But what I can do is I can actually select, and yes, I just tapped and then sort of slid down on the page to select multiple. This is something that you can do in Reminders, Mail, and GoodLinks is one of those apps that's using that fabulous iOS feature. When I've got that, I can tap on the three dots in the bottom right to re-download the article, delete it, or I can tap on the tag option, and then I can just type in the name of a tag I want, or I get suggestions across the bottom. So I'm actually going to create a new tag for the design diaries, which is what he's calling this little series that he's been on, and just update that, and voila, that's it. It's come through as 2 tags. I forgot that you don't have spaces in tags, but those things that you then tagged, which I'll just find that under diaries for the time being, that you can then, select all of these if you wanted to and share them, for example, with a friend, if you wanted to. So it's got support for adding things from the share sheet, of course, adding things from shortcuts and so on. But this app is great because it is purely data that's on your device. There is no random service that's reading what articles you have saved for later, getting that data, and then using it to sell you adverts. It is a $4.99 one-time purchase for iOS, so that's iPhone and iPad and Mac. So it's available on all of the devices. It also has support for focus filters with tags, finding links via shortcuts, all sorts of things. It's a great app. Really recommend it. And go and enjoy it. If you would like to have something to store articles in to actually read later or theoretically read later, whatever your jam is.
All right. I have two more here, and then Rose will have one more, and then we will have named our 12 favorites of Christmas. The first one I want to give a mention to is Parcel. Parcel is the delivery tracking app. I have to say I was a long time fan of deliveries, and it was great for many years. Unfortunately, as the different shipping companies have updated their APIs and made adjustments to the way that you can kind of communicate with them. Deliveries has kind of said, hey, we don't even know about the future of this app because it's so hard to be able to track these different services externally. What's cool about Parcel is that they have tried to find some ways around those limitations. And so I have switched over to Parcel as my package tracking app of choice. It's great around the end of the year for sure, as many people are, taking part in the gift giving holidays. And so Parcel is a great app to help you make sure that all of that information gets logged in and tracked. And what I like, there's a specific feature that I think is really cool. So deliveries had this, Parcel has this, but Parcel takes things a step further. You can log into your Amazon account with the app. And what it'll do is it will sync with your Amazon account and pull in the purchases that you've made and the orders that you've placed to be able to help you track them. And if the item gets sent with a third-party deliverer, so anything other than Amazon, if it gets sent via USPS, United States Postal Service, UPS, or FedEx, then the app will prompt you and say, hey, we see that Amazon shipped this via FedEx. Would you like to track it that way now? And so you can very quickly kind of transition into how it's going to be delivered in the end anyway, right there within the app. I think the only thing that I really liked about deliveries that I am not as happy with in Parcel is that deliveries had a better calendar integration. I liked being able to see, I could just look in my calendar and see what packages were going to arrive. Parcel has something that is similar, but it was not for me as good as what deliveries had and offered. So that is one thing where I need to, leave a comment and ask for that or reach out to the developer or something. But aside from all of that, I think Parcel is a great app for tracking and well worth looking into. Now, the next and final feature that I want to mention is, as I've just said, a feature, not an app. And that is Apple Music Sing. So Apple has recently added what amounts to, don't tell them I told you this, but it amounts to karaoke. They're just not saying it. They're calling it Apple Music Sing. But it gives you the ability to play music and sing to it. And it is good. What's cool about it is you have the ability to kind of make adjustments to the vocals on the song. So you can also if you're just big into instrumentals, then these songs that support it, you'll just be able to turn down the vocals and just listen to the instrumentals. So I am in the app right now, and I'm in Apple Music Sing, and we won't play back any of the audio, obviously, but I'll tap on a section and it shows some different options here. So let's go with Your Turn to Sing the Hits. And obviously we all want to sing I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. So I'll tap on that song and up will pop these different options here. Down at the bottom, in the bottom left-hand corner, is the lyrics button. If I tap on the lyrics button, now you'll see this new option. It says control the vocals, adjust the vocals on millions. Whoops. Where did that go? There we go. Adjust the vocals on millions of songs when you want to sing along. So I can tap on this and then drag up the vocals or drag down the vocals. And now the vocals are very quiet. So I can go, oh yeah. My voice is not in singing readiness this morning, but that just as simple as that. I've got, full volume of the vocals for actually just listening, or boop, drag down, and suddenly I am in Apple Music sing mode. So this will let me be the one to sing the articles or the lyrics. And if you notice here, watch how the lyrics are animating. So it is beat matched so that you can kind of get an idea of how you're supposed to sing the song. That's one of the things about going to karaoke that can be kind of troublesome is if you don't quite remember how the musician was singing it, then you go too fast or you go too slow. This will actually kind of play along with the way that the person is singing. So if they slow down when they say somebody, then it will go somebody. And if it's, fast, dance, dance, or dance, then it will also make those adjustments too. So you will get an even better idea. Now, this works, of course, on the iPhone. It also works on the iPad, Apple TV. So if you want to have a holiday sing-along extravaganza this year, then you can make use of Apple Music Sing there. And I think it's a great feature. I think it's great. A lot of people like to, I will tell you, I love singing along to songs. Whether I do it poorly or not is, it's up to, it's in the ear of the beholder, but I do love to sing along to songs. And so this is a really exciting thing, but I did want to mention too, I like that there were some folks who were like, I am not big into, I don't want to sing along, but I am distracted by the voices. And so it's quite nice to hear my favorite songs, just the sound of them, the instrumental, and not hear the lyrics as well, that I'm able to kind of do work while I am listening to my favorite songs. So yeah, check that out. It is brand new Apple Music Sing, just released not too terribly long ago, and well worth checking out. All right. Whew, we are ready, Rosemary, for you to round us out here.
Oh, well, sorry, Mikah. I was a little distracted because I've found some songs in my library that have got that feature enabled, and it's so much fun. So I guess I'll pause the Sing 2 soundtrack, which of course has this enabled, and I'll pop back over to Freeform, which is my final feature of the year. It's my favorite new feature because I think that this, having only just come out, I've not had all that much time playing with it because its big feature is really collaborative freeform note-taking. So as folks may be able to see if you're watching the video version, then there's a tiny little Mikah right up at the top of this note where I have invited him to this. But there's all sorts of great features. So you can add sticky notes where you just click on it, or if if you want to replace all the text on the Mac, you can just type or double tap on iOS and add a note. So I could write something like Mikah is amazing, which I've incorrectly capital or title cased. So I'm sure he's going to pop in and fix that with his inner editor. But he's busy playing with some shapes. And this is the great thing. Mike is doing this in real time. I'm doing this in real time, and we are seeing what the other person is doing. So if I wanted to, I am going to just select a nice purple here. That purple seems great. I'm going to do a little doodle. Now, if I was using my iPad, this would be much better with the Apple Pencil, but I can just do it with Freeform on my finger and look at this amazing doodle. Ta-da! That is very definitely a whale. If you don't see the whale,
I see it. I see it.
Then I'll just add a little bit of blue, and we'll just add some water coming out of the blue hole.
To follow it for the rest of my life and try to track it down. So it's definitely a whale.
It's a creative inspired whale. It's more of a doodle that kind of accidentally ended up looking like a whale, to be honest, but you know what, we'll take it. But the Freeform is just one of a series of collaborative features that Apple have added. And it's just honestly nice to see that there are more things out there. So you can add shapes of various kinds. Obviously, I've added an owl, but there's symbols. You can look under education. And this is pretty much every symbol that Apple offers to its developers and has available that is in here. So if you want some ornaments, you want some maybe 1920s Art Deco inspired things, or something slightly more modern, something looking a bit like a snowflake for the weather, geometrical shapes, whatever. You can probably use this to do homework. You can get amazing pictures of Mikah. Oh my gosh, this is great. What is that?
Oh, it went away.
Did you move it on me, Mikah?
I may have.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll allow that. Okay, I am going to just quickly insert a photo. I could take a photo immediately, but instead what I will do is I'll scroll back and I will just grab this picture, which I shared on Instagram the other day, because I happened to be sitting underneath a light bulb where I was.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
there's a little picture there. But I've got plenty of other pictures I could add. You can use this for anything. I plan on using this with some friends who I also work with to sort of mock up our ideas and share, like, no, this is the bit of the app that I'm talking about when I'm talking about this, like this bit right here, being able to like talk at the same time. You can use this via SharePlay with FaceTime and so on. When you're done, you can export this as a PDF and so on. But if I were to go back inside of Freeform, now that I have this here, I can actually rename my board to be something else. I can manage the board, so I can see that there's a Mikah here. If I were to tap on him, then I'd probably see his phone number and some other things, and I'd be able to, control his permissions, or I could stop sharing this entirely. I can create more boards if I want, and I can also, see my favorites, see the shared ones, see anything that I may have recently deleted, such as that one from a couple of weeks ago. But it's a great little tool that I'm sure people are going to be enjoying the use of. Something I'd recommend, folks, if you've got kids who are coming over for the holidays, then it might be good to actually get them to doodle in Freeform, because then you don't have to stick physical pieces of artwork on your fridge, and everybody gets the artwork without anybody having to take home physical glitter and get it everywhere. So at the very minimum, you can use it to, have some fun with friends, maybe do some remote games, what's the one I'm thinking of, Mikah, where everybody draws a head and then they move to the next one and they draw a body, but they try not to look at the head. You can put sticky notes over each one.
I can't remember the name of that game.
It would work for Hangman 2. It would work for Hangman 2, Keith, but the one I'm thinking of specifically is you draw the head at the top of a piece of paper and then you fold it backwards, and then you all pass the piece of paper to, say, your right or to your left, and then the next person has to draw a body, and then you fold it down again, and the next person draws some legs, and the final person draws shoes, and then you unroll it at the end, and you've got a little mini monster or person, whatever, to make a story with. So that's the one I'm thinking of. But you can get creative with this app, and it's a great free feature that everyone should have a little play with and check out, because at the minimum, seeing live collaboration is amazing.
Indeed. I love the idea of even just them playing tic-tac-toe with, they've all got their various iPads. They just can play tic-tac-toe or whatever. Yeah, that's great. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of our 12 favorites of Christmas that Apple gave to us. And it is time to move on to talk about the news. Up first, we have to talk about iOS 16.2. In the news, because, well, frankly, iOS 16.2 has been announced and released, and it is the way that you get Apple Music Sing on your phone or on your iPad or on your Apple TV, blah, blah, blah. If you want to use Apple Music Sing, you'll need to update to the latest version. Look, with this show, Rosemary and I are we are almost always going to encourage folks to update to the latest version of iOS. It is a very rare occasion, a very, very rare occasion. I can't remember when it was. There was one time where cellular data wasn't working whenever you updated to the latest version. But outside of that, almost always you're getting security updates with the latest version. So it is our advice to update to the latest, greatest version of iOS. And of course, with that sometimes comes new features. So when we're doing this show, we are talking about the latest version of iOS, unless we're talking about the beta versions, in which case we make that clear ahead of time. So we assume that you all out there are on iOS 16.2. And if you're not, get that update locked in. So what can folks expect in iOS 16.2, Rosemary?
Well, as soon as you've updated all of your devices to iOS 16.2, iPadOS 16.2, HomePodOS 16.2, tvOS 16.2, and the latest version of macOS Ventura, then you can update your home to also use the latest HomeKit architecture. Now, I haven't done this yet because I've basically been holding off on updating a few Macs because there is a slight problem with an update to the Macs and audio processing, which means that my audio hijack applications will work if I update. So I need to wait until I finish the last podcast of the year before I can update this Mac, and then I can actually finally upgrade to the new HomeKit architecture. But aside from that, there are some new lock screen widgets for sleep data and medication tracking. There are more options for that always on display. So my display right now has woken up. It's on, but if I turn it off, then you'll see it's actually still on. It's very difficult to see, but I promise you that it does actually, there we go dimmer when it's off. It's difficult because when you pick it up, it lights up. But there's more options for that. So you can disable the wallpaper and disable notifications. You can get more frequent live activity updates. Stage Manager has external display support. Yes, of course, Apple Music Sing. There's also advanced data protection, including full end-to-end encryption of your iCloud backup, asterisk, if you're in the United States. It will be rolling out everywhere else earlier next year, so we will talk about that then. But yeah, there's lots of cool things. There's even live activities on Apple TV to follow your favorite team's sports scores right on your lock screen or in the dynamic island of your iPhone. So as you're watching the sports, whichever sports it is that support this, then theoretically the score can also appear on your iPhone. Not quite sure personally what the advantage of that is, because if you're watching it, then surely you can see it on the screen, but whatever. The big one, however, that I definitely want to mention is that your AirDrop settings, where if you swipe down into your control center and then you tap and hold in the center of the four dots, in the top left, then you've got an AirDrop option, and it's probably set to contacts only. And if you tap on this, then you can turn it off, and you can turn it on to everyone, but only for 10 minutes. And this is a massive improvement to security. The number of space sloths that I have sent to people who have just left this open to everyone all the time, and that you can literally send them anything. And they would have to approve it if they don't know you, but you still get a preview of that. So I sent them a nice little space sloth with a little explanation at the bottom saying, hey, you've got this turned on to everyone. You probably don't want to be doing that because people will send you bad things. Especially if your device name implies that you are female, then you get a lot of bad stuff. But now it defaults to everyone for 10 minutes and then back to contacts only. So no more explaining to grandma why people are trying to send her random things and why this pops up on the screen. But, if you are seeing your friends, family, relatives over this holiday season, it might be a good opportunity to just say, hey, have you installed that update yet? Doesn't matter if they're running Android, doesn't matter if they're running Windows or Linux. Ask them if they've installed the latest security updates, and then everyone can go into the new year with the latest and greatest that their devices are capable of on device.
Beautiful. I just released last week, if you're a member of the club, twit.tv/clubtwit. If you're not a member of the club, please join the club, because then you'll get access to the episode I just released last week, talking all about advanced data protection for iCloud, how you sign up for it, what all is involved, what it does, what it doesn't do, how it works, everything you need to know about advanced data protection. I have an episode of Hands on Mac, which is a club exclusive podcast. It's a short format show, and I talked about that. So please join the club, twit.tv/clubtwit, to check it out. All right. So we all have heard via Bloomberg that Apple may soon, well, sort of soon, within the next few years, make some changes to its system such that people will be able to install apps to their iPhone that are not in the App Store. And so this is sort of popularly known as sideloading. And it was something that I never expected to see in my life, was Apple allowing sideloading, but that is likely on its way due to EU regulation. And so you have linked to an article talking about how developers are kind of back and forth on this idea. Do you want to tell us more about this?
Yeah. So essentially, what it is the EU is saying like, hey, like you can't be the only place where people can get apps. And, you know, to be honest, Apple isn't the only place people can get apps. If you are a business, then you can use an MDM service to install internal apps on everybody's devices without making them publicly available in the App Store. If you go onto GitHub, for example, and you were to download NetNewsWire, then you could actually build that and install that right on your iPhone without going through the App Store. But basically, they want, just like Android, for there to be the Play Store and the Amazon equivalent at the Play Store. And there's the other one that I always forget about because I don't actually use Android. So people want more options. And this sounds like a great idea, but it also comes with the asterisk of what about security? What about piracy? And so on. And there are a lot of developers going, well, on the one hand, it sounds good because we would be able to do things that are completely and utterly legal, but the App Store doesn't like them for some things. And having gone back and forth with the App Store about, no, this app doesn't have like any potential audience. Yes, it really does. Trust me, it does. And I've seen many app developers go through that as well, where App Store just say, no, you can't have that on the App Store because we said so. I can see why a lot of app developers would be in favor. But also, it does come with the what are you installing on your device problem. And as one developer points out, you know, mid-sized companies, especially, a problem would be a copycat app comes in and it takes your name on another app store and it sells for $3.99 instead of your $4.99. What do you do? Can you do that? Do you have to be on all of the app stores for that app store to say, actually, no, this is, you know, your IP? Do you have to get a lawyer involved? When Apple's involved, it's a lot easier because you go to Apple and they are judge, jury, and executioner for better or for worse. It looks like it's probably going to be done with some kind of signing. So if you have a Mac, then you're probably aware that when you download apps and you just try and run them, it'll pop up and say, okay, hey, this, you know, every so often you'll get one, hey, this isn't certified. We're just not going to launch it. And you can change your settings to allow you to run those. But you do have to, you know, jump through a few hoops to do that. So we're not going to see immediately what's happening here. It's going to take Apple a while to solve how this is going to be done, because right now the OS doesn't really just let you go to a random website and download an app and install it. And I'm not sure any of us really want to just go to a website to do that. But, you know, we'll see what happens. That said, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what advantages there might be. I don't know that we're going to see Fortnite back on the iPhone anytime soon, though, Mikah.
Yeah. That's probably not going to happen. Quickly, we also have the satellite feature, another Hands on Mac episode, talking about how the newest iPhones can make use of satellite connectivity whenever you're in a place where there's no cellular service to send emergency messages. That's going to be available in more countries in 2023, which is great. And also, we finally know a little bit more about what is new in AirTag. So we mentioned, I think it was even last week, that Apple's AirTags were getting a firmware update. And now we have more information about that, including the ability to... So there's a feature called precision finding, and with your iPhone and with your AirTags, you could open up the Find My app and say, hey, I want to find my AirTag, and using a mixture of Bluetooth, visual description, and also the ultra wideband chips in the AirTag and in the iPhone, it would help you find what the AirTag that you were looking for and help you orient where you were going. So if it was, you know, to the right and then you need to look down farther up, et cetera, it's sort of scanning. Now you will be able to do this with an unknown AirTag. So this is great because if you get a notification that an unknown AirTag has been found, you know, in your vicinity, up to this point, you just knew that there was an unknown AirTag found in your vicinity. You could not know exactly where it was. So you had to go looking through everything, trying to find it. Now you will be able to use that precision finding feature if you've got a phone that supports it. So I think that's iPhone, is it 11 or 12? One of those phones had the first ultra wideband chip.
11 or later.
Thank you. iPhone 11 or later, you will be able to precision find the AirTag. So if you get that notification, you don't have to, be nervous that it's somewhere where you can't find it. It'll help you, track it down almost precisely where it is. That's great.
Yeah. Yes. We've also found out that the latest AirTag firmware update was to support the accelerometer not necessarily responding quite correctly when it moved. So the accelerometer is what detects that the device has been picked up and moved around, and it's now been resolved, apparently. I can tell you, Mikah, I had an AirTag in my suitcase this weekend as I went to Budapest, and it worked perfectly for telling me that my suitcase was theoretically left behind on the tarmac of Budapest airport. But the good news is it then popped back up again when I got back to Heathrow, and it told me that it was 190 yards away for a very frustrating 10 minutes before it finally appeared on the belt. But there we go. It works pretty well, I have to say. So feel free to chuck an AirTag in your luggage this holiday season if you are traveling, folks.
And then I had seen that Google had updated its devices and had finished its rollout on Android and on Google Home and Nest devices, the Matter rollout, Matter being the sort of all-encompassing platform for smart home devices to communicate with one another, no matter whether you're using Alexa from Amazon, Google's virtual assistant, or your iPhone's virtual assistant, Siri. Now, it would appear that Echo devices are having their rollout as well. It says, this is a 9 to 5 Mac article. According to Amazon, the phased rollout of Matter support to Echo devices allows the company to ensure that its devices work with the most common device types, blah, 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 blah. During the first phase of the rollout, Amazon added Matter support to Echo devices via Wi-Fi for smart plugs, smart bulbs, and smart switches. The first phase only included Android compatibility. Because iOS would require its apps to use new APIs that took longer to become available. Over the next phase of the rollout, Amazon will bring Matter to those other devices and will come in early 2023. So not yet available for iOS devices, but available via Android. And I will tell you, I updated my Eve devices with Matter and was able to then set up my Eve devices with the Google Home app. And so I am able to now control those devices using this Pixel 6 and also the Google device I have back there, the Nest Hub. And it shows up and actually I can show you. Let me go to my Home app on my iPhone and I'll pop into the settings. And you'll see a little section in your home settings called Connected Services. And if I tap into Connected Services, it shows the 3 accessories that are currently working with Apple Home, which is the first one. And then this 24582 is actually the Google Home setup for this. So if I tap into this, you can see that Eve door and window, Eve motion, and the Eve energy plug that is connected to an ATEM Mini all are connected via Matter. And so that means that these devices, which at one point only worked by me using the Home app or talking to Siri, now are able to be controlled with my voice over Google's system or again with that Android device. So it's cool to have this Matter and see it actually working. It's been a long time coming. And so to actually see it in practice is really neat. And I'm looking forward to it coming to Echo devices by way of iOS very soon.
Yeah, it'll be great, as Matter requires that devices can be controlled by 5 hubs. So anything where previously you could only enroll it in, say, HomeKit, or you could enroll it into, the Eve system through some other method, which in this case actually isn't possible, then you will actually have to be able to connect it to multiple things. So, I think that's great. We're going to be able to see a lot more interconnectivity between things. And we'll find out more about Amazon's Echo rollout for iOS at CES, which is January 5th to January 8th next year. So pretty soon we'll be finding out more. And fingers crossed, there'll be lots of great information there. And fingers crossed, we'll be getting cheaper, better devices available for everybody on every platform. So you're no longer going to be attempting to troubleshoot something weird with somebody set up for them, because of course you will be, as the listener of the show or watcher of the show, because you are probably the techie person in everyone's life.
All right, I can hear the music. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. This is the part of the show where you write in with your Shortcuts Corner requests, and Rosemary Orchard, the Shortcuts expert, provides a response. We have a request from Ashley, who writes, "Hi, Mikah and Rosemary, longtime watcher, back in the Sarah Lane days, never emailed, fairly new to Shortcuts thanks to Rosemary." Awesome. Love that. I have been trying to create a shortcut for adding connected events to my calendar, and I've hit a problem with time zones. I would like a shortcut to add a series of connected events to my calendar, each having different dates and times, which would need to be inputted each time. I can't run a repeat. However, the times for these events are in a different time zone to where I'm currently located, and I can only seem to convert time zone to the start date/time and not the end. I then plan to create a shortcut to run each event date shortcut. Could you help in any way? Many thanks, Ashley in London. Okay, I have to say, I don't know what a connected event is. Do you?
Well, I suspect what this is, Mikah, is if you think of, say, for example, a band who goes on tour, then you'll have a series of tour dates and times. But, it's one thing if they're touring, say, the west coast of the United States. It's probably going to be a fairly consistent time zone. But once they leave that coast and they go across the United States, and then they come over here and they start in London and maybe do some stuff in the UK and then go across Europe, you got a lot of time zones involved. And then, Asia is more time zones and, all of the time zones in the world. So I'm guessing that it's going to be something like that. Obviously, Ashley's been non-specific as to their precise needs. But the good news I have for Ashley is actually this is definitely something that we can solve. So I have just been messing around a little bit with what this might look like. And I'm just going to assume that Ashley has data in a way that can then be split up in some way and processed. So I'm just going to add a little repeat with each here, and I'll walk folks through what I've got. So I've actually got text, and the idea is you probably have multiple lines of this. And I've just put iOS today, 9 a.m., Pacific, okay, because iOS today records at 9 a.m. Pacific on Tuesdays. There should also be a date in here. So I will actually just pop in December 20th, and we can leave it at that for the time being. If I could spell December, this would be so much better, wouldn't it? But there we go. I'm talking and typing at the same time. It's a bad combination. So I'm going to assume that there's multiple lines of this, and then split it up by line and go through each line. And then inside of that repeat, I will also just split this up into not lines, but I'll split this up by custom and then pop in a comma so that I have that data. So if you had a CSV, you could just paste that data into the top. And now I'll just use the get from list action because there is a handy little action where I can just grab something. So the first item in this in our case here of our split text by comma is going to be the title. And then if I just duplicate this, then I will actually say item at index 2. That's going to be our date and time. And then I will duplicate this once more and get our last item, which will be our time zone. And then we need the calendar event action. So I'm not, there isn't a way to just link all of the events together in iOS with like a specific thing that looks like a repeat but isn't a repeat where you can see all of them. I would probably solve this actually by having a specific calendar. So you could add a calendar as part of your automation if you wanted to, or just create it in the calendar. Or you can do what I'm going to do now, which is use a prefix. So I'm going to use the add new event option here. Okay, and so if we just go back, we've got our title, we've got our date and time, and then we've got our time zones. So I will start with the first item from the list, okay? And that is this one here. So I'll just rename that. And if you tap on any variable in Shortcuts, then it'll pop up this little info button, which tells you what it is, our info section. And then you can actually rename something. So I will just change that to title so that we know that that one is the title for later, just to make life a little easier. And then we need the date and time. And so I will, again, use the select variable, and I will use that second item, which will be the start time. Now, I'm assuming you will also have an end time for this. But I've left that out for the time being because I don't need it to show you the bit that I want to show you, which is if you tap on this little arrow button, first of all, you'll probably want to turn off Show Compose Sheet. But you can actually, or I could the other day when I was doing this, set the time zone for this. So why is the time zone not showing up for me now? Either way, there is definitely the option to set the time zone of a event. I believe actually I might have been looking at that in a slightly different fashion, but you can indeed do this so that you will have, there we go, convert time zone. That's the option that I want. So we want to convert our second item on the list. So I'm going to select that. And you can see because I've renamed it, it now shows start end, which is not the name that I had intended. I meant to say start date. There we go. That's much better. So convert start date from time zone. And this is where you would tap on it and then it should pop up a menu and you would select your current time zone. Okay, because you're going to convert it from your current time zone from the remote time zone to their time zone. iOS is being a little slow, but there we go. It's hopefully popping up. And you do this by city as a side note, usually. So I'll actually have to change the specific I'll just pop in San Francisco because we all know that's on the West Coast. And then I don't have to embarrass myself with how bad my geography is. So now if I tap and hold on this option, it will allow me to select a variable and then I can get this last item from the list. There we go. And then I can just pop in my converted date. And then you would do the same thing with the end date. And I would suggest that that will be all you need for this. So fingers crossed that will do it. The only other thing I would recommend potentially is looking into some other apps. You know, Mikah talked about Fantastical earlier. Fantastical definitely has an option in its app, and I'm pretty certain, there we go, in its actions as well, to set a time zone. So I'll just double check that. Ooh, I'm not seeing... Where is the option to add a calendar event? I think my shortcuts, there we go, is being a little buggy here. It's not showing me the options that I know are usually there, but you can do a lot of these things with other apps. But I would suggest that the convert time zone from the remote time zone to your current time zone will probably do what you need to do there. And if you want to do a prefix, then before when you pop into that title field, then you could put, I'm just going to assume that you are following a tour band that you work for or something. And so you need to input all of those. So I'll just pop in the word tour, : but I'm sure there are lots of things. You know, if you are a flight attendant, for example, then you may have a lot of these that you need to input for all of your different flights. So being able to do that, you can even use this convert start date. I would use this again for the end date, but you can have different time zones on those. So feel free to have a play with this and write back if this doesn't answer your question, Ashley. But fingers crossed it does. And hopefully at some point, maybe I will even run into you as you're apparently in London, just down the road from me. So yeah, hopefully this will solve the problem. Convert time zone is the action you most likely need.
All right. Super quick feedback and questions, and I'll just do a quick answer on this one. So, hello, Mikah and Rosemary. Thank you for your very comprehensive and engaging podcast. I've looked up so many forums and other things, and I cannot find an answer to this. But just in case, I'm hoping you might have a tip about this. Everyone out there, listen in. We need some help because this is a tough one. I have an iPhone 14 Pro with the latest 16.1 update. I have installed the photo widget on my home screen. I like that it shows photos randomly. However, when I select it, what D means is when I tap on it, it goes through a slideshow. So they tap on it and then up pops a slideshow in the Photos app, which is fun. But it has music on it, music that I haven't selected or music that I want. I haven't found a way to turn off that music or even just mute it. Everyone in the forums seem equally frustrated about this. I'm at the point where it's not worth having the photo widget on my home screen. Do you have any advice? Is there a deep dive setting I've missed? Thank you very much, D. So everybody listening out there, if you've got a suggestion, let us know. But this is a sort of built-in feature that does come with iOS. And I do think that what we have here is a situation where Apple's engineers are maybe going, oh, this is a delightful thing to do with somebody's photos. And so you kind of don't end up having much of a choice here because it seems that it's a delightful thing to do. Now, obviously, one can turn down their phone, which should mute the music that is playing. But what I will say is that when I look at the feature on on this iPad, and I add that photo widget, it has the special moments that are through memories and featured photos. That is one option. And then it also has, and now it's not showing me the rest of them. So basically what can end up happening is you can either have memories or you can have featured photos. And so what's happening is your phone is serving up memories, and memories are Apple's name for photo slideshow with music. And that is what ends up happening where you're seeing that.
Yeah. So the only giveaway for this that you would know this is if you go to add a photos widget and you tap on the photos, it says for you at the top, appreciate special moments through memories and featured photos. And then if I pop back into the photos app, then you'll see that, in my memories, I have a number of memories. And if you tap on, the three dots in the top right, you can feature this memory less if you wanted to. And then if I just pop down, because I just did it on this one and I know that there's nothing here, then if you tap on this, you can actually tap on the song information at the bottom. You can change some things, like you could add a different song if you wanted to and choose it, but you are always going to have a song as far as I can tell. You can undo these changes at any point, I should note. There's a limited amount that we can change on this. There is the option, as I know, if you tap on the dots in the bottom right, to modify the pictures that are included. So then I could tap and hold on a picture and say, make it this the key picture, or hide this from the memory, or show this in all photos. So you can then go to it in all of your photos. But there's no way to just straight up remove the music. It's a memory. It's supposed to have music. I think your best choice is probably, if you want to beat him, join him, choose the music, and then at the very least, you're in control. And you could always pick that CarPlay song of a very great song, which is 8 Minutes of Silence.
Interestingly, I popped open a memory from the photos thing, and up at the top left is that the speaker button, and I tapped it right to mute the audio for this memory, and then I went in and I tapped on all of the other memories, and they were all muted. So that actually seems to hold what you've chosen. And so since I chose to keep the sound off, there will still be sound, of course, and you just can't hear it because you have it turned off. So yeah, it seems to honor whichever you chose there. It's sticky. It's a sticky control. So that, I think, is my suggestion for you, is pop open a memory in your Photos app and then tap the little speaker button in the top left corner. And that will, it seems, permanently turn off the sound for your memories until you choose to turn it back on again. So Dee, let us know if that solved your problem or if it's continuing to give you issues. We'd love to hear more about that, but we have just enough time to get to our app caps. So let us head into the app caps. This is the part of the show where typically we place caps atop some of us do place caps atop our heads to honor our app and gadget picks of the week. These are the apps or gadgets we are using now, or have been using for a long time, that we think are great and we want to share with all of you. So Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap you have doffed on top of the cap that you already have, and then tell us about your pick.
Well, the cap I've put on is the only one that would fit on the Santa hat that I was already wearing. It's a green and gold tinsel with pom-pom Christmas tree hat. And there is a star at the top, but I kind of have to pull it down and hunch for you to be able to see it. So I'm just going to kind of let that bounce up. Well, I briefly talk about my app cap. This is one that I spotted featured in the App Store a couple of days ago, and I downloaded it for nostalgia purposes because I'm sure all of us at some point I've played Minesweeper on one of those, like Windows 95, 98 era PCs with the left clicking and the right clicking, and I'm terrible at Minesweeper. But this was featured on the App Store here in the UK as Minesweeper, and it's Minesweeper with a tilde. That's that horizontal squiggly line after it that's free. But there are lots of Minesweeper apps available on the App Store. And when you open it, you can just tap play, and there are different options. There's beginner, normal, hard, and expert. I'm amazing at Minesweeper. I'm absolutely brilliant, Mikah. So I'm going to go with the beginner option. And then you get an appropriately sized grid for your abilities. You've got 3 light bulbs and you've got your flags. I'm just going to try my old tactic of, corners, and bam, I died. Well, it's Minesweeper. You tap on the grid and you see whether or not you explode, or if you need to tap to mark something. So I'll try corners again. Okay, there's almost certainly going to be one there. So I'm going to tap and hold to flag. I'll tap this corner. Okay, there's got to be one here. I'm going to say there's got to be one here and got to be one here. I'll just try here, and I'm not dead. So it's Minesweeper. It's simple. It's free to download, and why not give it a go? And it might be something great to introduce some friends and family members at some point. It's by a little solo developer called Yizeng. I'm enjoying it. It's just fun to play.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Minesweeper. I did not bring another cap to wear atop my head, but I am still wearing my Father Christmas hat, which is, of course, the white and red classic cap with the little ball on the end of it. The app that I'm talking about this week is not an app at all. I love this album so much that I am making it my app cap this week. It is an album called The Much, Much How and I, and it is an album by Cosmo Sheldrake. So I only discovered Cosmo Sheldrake this year, and I am both happy and sad about that, because it means that I have all this new music I can listen to, but I also kind of wish that I had already known this artist so I could have been enjoying their music for quite some time. In any case, this is a bizarre mixture of folk music and pop and electronic and atmospheric and ethereal. I can't really describe what this album is like, but it is so delightful. It is like mixing James and the Giant Peach with the Grimm fairy tales and a dash or two of Narnia, all comes together with music to make these just beautiful tales that get told through this artist's work. And I have been just absolutely annoying the crud out of my partner listening to this album so much. So I had to give a shout out to it, because it's kind of wild. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks this year, but I did my Apple Music replay. And even though I only discovered this artist, I think at the end of November, it ended up making the list for my Apple Music replay because I was listening to it so much. So yeah, I think I want everyone to hear this album and appreciate this artist. And so I had to make it my app cap. Of course, if you have a subscription to Apple Music, you can listen to it there. If you don't, you can purchase the album if you'd like, or if you've got a subscription to Spotify, Amazon Music, all those different places, you can get it there. But this, of course, is the version in Apple Music. And my, oh my, it's delightful. And it's what I like about it. It is very re-listenable because of all of the layers to the music that really just add to it. And it ends up being music I can listen to in the background, which is nice. So yeah, the Much, Much How and I from Cosmo Sheldrake is my app cap. And with that, we have reached the end of this episode of iOS Today, our 12 favorites of Christmas. If you have questions, feedback, concerns, etc., you can send those to iostoday@twit.tv, or follow us on Mastodon. We are at iOS Today @twit.social. So that's a great place to go. And you can send your questions, your feedback, your Shortcuts Corner requests there. We record this show live every Tuesday, although this coming Tuesday, we will not be recording the show live. Instead, yours truly will be presenting the Best Ofs episode of our best moments from the past year. But we record the show live every Tuesday outside of that at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So you can tune in at twit.tv/live for that. And to become a sort of loyal supporter of the show by subscribing or following, you just go to twit.tv/iOS. That way you get the show as soon as it's available, which is quite nice. And it is available in both audio and video versions. So if you like to watch along, you can do that. Or if you just want to have a listen in your car, then you can do that as well. Again, twit.tv/iOS. Now is the time where I mentioned that you can join the club to support the network and get some great stuff with that. Twit.tv/clubtwit is where you go to sign up. Starting at $7 a month or $84 a year, you get quite a few things. First, you get access to every single one of Twitch shows ad-free, which is awesome because in effect, you are supporting the show as opposed to the sponsors needing to support the show. You get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else, behind the scenes, before the show, after the show, and even some scheduled events end up in the Twit Plus bonus feed, which is awesome, as well as access to the members-only Discord server. That is a place where you can go to chat with your fellow Club Twit members and also those of us here at Twit. We love getting to chat with you there. Again, twit.tv/clubtwit. And that's not even where it stops. You get more. You get access to the Untitled Linux show as well, a show all about Linux, as you might imagine. Access to Hands on Windows, which is Paul Thurrot's show, all about Windows tips and tricks. And access to my show, the one I mentioned earlier in the program, Hands on Mac, where I talk about all things Apple. So not just the Mac, but also, in fact, there's an episode there about Apple Music Replay, which I was showing folks how to get their Apple Music Replay. So please sign up and join the club, and you'll get some great stuff for doing so, and we appreciate that. Now, Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do so?
Well, the best place to go is to rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to all the places that I am on the internet, including Mastodon, Micro.blog, still technically Twitter because I post and it gets posted to Twitter. And other than that, you can also find me on some other podcasts and in the Club Twit Discord, where I love hanging out with all of the great folks who watch the show or pop in later with feedback. Speaking of Mastodon, if you include at iOS Today at twit.social in a Mastodon tweet, then that automatically gets added to our feedback list. So you can do that as well as sending us an email. But yes, Mikah, where can folks find you online?
You can find me at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. I think I need to take Twitter out of that top row because I have not really been on Twitter very often as of late. Put Mastodon up there. But yes, that is the place you can go to check it out. And of course, check out my other shows. Thursday, I record Tech News Weekly with Jason Howell. Now, because it will start in the new year, on Sundays, I will record Ask the Tech Guys with Leo Laporte, where we are still taking your questions and answering them. But we're gonna have some fun. There's gonna be a lot involved, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, if you join the club, you can check out on Thursdays as well, Hands on Mac. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your year and enjoy the holidays that you choose to celebrate at this time. And I hope you get everything your little heart desires. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next year for another episode of iOS Today. Goodbye.
The world is changing rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that it's hard to keep up. That's why Mikah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, talk with the people making and breaking the tech news on Tech News Weekly every Thursday. They know these stories better than anyone, so why not get them to talk about it in their own words? Subscribe to Tech News Weekly, and you won't miss a beat every Thursday at twit.tv.